So, will Congress ever cut spending? Ever in our lifetime? Joining me now is Art Laffer, former Reagan economist, and Steve Moore, host of More Money on WABC Radio and co-author of The Trump Economic Miracle with Art Laffer. Probably the answer is no, they'll never cut spending, but it is worth talking about for a moment. $2 trillion deficit as far as the eye can see. Steve Moore, I just have a slight bone to pick with you, though. You keep writing up how the debt ceiling is so important. And I would say to you, the debt ceiling never cut spending, never cut deficits, and never cut debt. The only progress we've ever made, and I'm kind of serious on this, is when spending caps were imposed and implemented, with particularly the Graham-Rudman spending caps. But also Paul Ryan had spending caps, John Boehner had spending caps, and actually Kevin McCarthy's spending caps. One of the reasons the first CR last month blew up is because they were waived. But my point is, it isn't debt ceilings or debt limits, it's spending caps that have to be enforced, and that's where they should go in this big, one big beautiful bill that's going to come up.
Well, you have it half right, Larry. I mean, it is true that, when Newt Gingrich came in, we got spending caps and we had the first balanced budgets in, 50 years when Bill Clinton was president. You're right, go back to the Graham-Rudman cuts. I talked to Phil Gramm about that the other day, and he was boasting that was about the only time we actually cut the budget. And even, the Boehner cuts came. But here's what you miss about this, Larry. All of those reforms and all those caps in spending and those reductions happened because Republicans used the leverage of the debt ceiling to get a deal with Democrats. That's what you're missing.
No,
that's what I want Trump to do now.
No, they didn't. You're kidding yourself.
Yes.
Stop. You know that's not true.
You've got to have Phil Gramm on your show, and he will agree with me, Larry.
You know that's not true. I mean, I just love this. The debt ceiling has never stopped anything in the history of debt ceilings. I mean, nobody takes it seriously anymore. All that happens under debt ceilings is spending goes up, deficits go up, and debt goes up. That's all that ever happens. Now, Graham-Rudman hauling spending caps, now they have to be enforced by political leadership, I'll grant you that. I mean, Arthur, I can't get that excited. I mean, we have to slow down spending, okay? We have to grow the economy. But I just cannot get excited about these debt ceilings, because debt ceilings are responsible for the greatest increases in debt that I've ever seen.
Well, I'm going to put out a press release that says Larry Kudlow,
by the way, let me just say.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Arthur.
Yeah, well, just as two of my best friends ever. Larry, I think you won that one. I think that especially true, saying they think they solve a debt ceiling by raising taxes, and that's the worst thing in the world. Spending caps are perfect. The only thing about spending caps that doesn't make as much sense is they're pretty blunt instruments. There are certain things you want to cut spending on, which is all the transfer payments, all the paying people not to work. You don't want to cut spending on defense. Those two are not equivalent there, caps. But spending caps are clearly the way to go, and we should get rid of the debt ceiling completely, I think.
Okay, totally. We've solved that problem.
Now, what was the question you were going to ask?
We've completely solved that problem. Now, I want to go on to a second one.
What was the question?
Westchester County, New York, Congressman Mike Lawler on Maria's Sunday show yesterday. Here's how much he wants. He wants to raise the SALT cap, so the deduction for state and local taxes. Take a quick listen. Here it comes.
You had a very important meeting with President Trump, and I know he gets this. You expect the SALT cap to be lifted?
He understands it completely. He agrees the cap on salt needs to be lifted. Look, I introduced legislation to lift it to $100,000 for individuals, $200,000 for married couples. I've said from the very beginning, if salt is not lifted, I will not support a tax bill that does not do that.
Wow.
I think you and I agree, to get the one big beautiful bill through, so double it from 10 to 20,000. Mike Lawler wants to go to 100 to 200,000. By the way, just in the Wall Street Journal editorial this morning, if you double the SALT cap from 10 to 20,000, It costs $175 billion over 10 years. Just want to put that in. Now, if you took it to 100,000, as Mr. Lawler wants, there's no telling how much. I mean, I can't even calculate it. But what's going to happen on this, Steve Moore? What do you think is going to happen on this?
You know, it's good timing that you would ask us about this, because Arthur and I are working on a piece right now to explain how this should work. But I think, first of all, the general principle for good tax policy, I think we could all agree on this one, Arthur, right, is that there should be no SALT deduction. There's no rationale whatsoever for people who live in Florida and Texas and Idaho to have to pay higher taxes to pay for the high taxes and spending in New York and California. That just makes no sense to me. And by the way, if you bring back the SALT deduction, you're talking about $1 trillion that's going to. We use that. You were there, Larry. We use the SALT, getting rid of the SALT deduction, to lower the tax rates on everybody. That's what we should do here.
Well, the point is, Arthur, we shouldn't incentivize all these blue states to keep raising taxes by allowing those state taxes to be deducted from federal taxes. It's just, you know, I mean, you can get into discussions about how much New York pays into the federal government and all this stuff. I don't care. The issue, Arthur, is the incentives are all wrong. Now, the question is, to get the tax bill through, you're going to have to get all these votes. It's a very thin majority. That's the reason we really can only have, I think, one bite at the apple, one big, beautiful bill to put tax cuts in there and spending cuts, as well as the border stuff and energy production. But, Arthur, I mean, how far would you go to make peace, do you think? What would work to your way of thinking, Art?
When I look at you two in the very highest tax places in the world, and I'm in a zero tax state, hypocrisy knows no bounds. But to be honest with you, what I would like to see happening is 1/2 of all state and local taxes should be deductible, period. There should be no limits to that. You should not have limits on the deductions. You should have limits on the percentage of taxes that are deductible, because it's the marginal tax rate on these people in those blue states that really matters. It's the marginal tax rate, not the average, not the cost, et cetera. And when you do that, you say half the taxes there, that would give the marginal effect, and they will pay for themselves, Larry. If you made half of the deductions deductible unlimited, all right, you would pay for itself with the growth and output and less sheltering and all that sort of stuff that would occur. They would be revenue raisers in truth. Now, so maybe you're not saying, in the budget accounting.
So that's interesting. So you're saying measure it differently. The issue shouldn't be the size of the deduction or the size of the cap. You're just saying the percentage should be. I don't know. Is that going to really?
Yeah, because it should be
these states are all such huge tax states. You're talking about 4 or 5 states. Well, no more than that. You're talking about half a dozen states. So would that matter, Steve Moore? I don't know. I've got to think about this. I think Art's putting something over on us, but I want to think it through, Steve Moore.
Well, I mean, he and I have been talking a lot about this, and I think that, you know, the point is that he wants to bring down the total tax rate that those people at the top are paying, because that's going to incentivize them to work more. But I would say that most of the people who take this tax break, because remember, 91% of Americans no longer itemize their deductions, Larry. Right. So for the vast majority of people living in New York, it's a meaningless thing. And I just don't understand the rationale for having it all. I can live with increasing the deduction from 10 to 20,000, but I think Arthur's got a pretty interesting idea too. But bringing it back, or a 200,000 limit, that's unacceptable to me.
Last one. I'm just going to say this. Famous Wall Street Journal editorial published 2 years ago, I think, okay? If you live in New York City, your top state and local tax rate is 14.8%.
That's right.
If you live in Miami, your top state and local tax rate is 0. That is correct. Steve Moore, you got that right. You got one right today. The debt thing you blew out, but you got that right. 0 if you live, and it's true if you live in Nashville, or whether Arthur lives too. I mean, that's the story. 14.8 versus 0, and Lord knows out in California, where everything is broken down, We pray that people can live through it. But, you know, it's the same story. Massive. It's about a 14% tax. Anyway, gentlemen, I got to go. I'm out of time. So much fun. Art Laffer.
Move to Tennessee.
Yeah, we're all going to move to Tennessee, or at least we'll take a Greyhound bus down there. Art Laffer and Steve Moore. Thank